It's a winter wonderland out there. Not so wonderful for the Grizz or for the Tigers. What a journey for the University of Memphis. A long, long journey. It literally started a week ago on Tuesday. The craziness at Tulsa, where you had a 5-point lead, 7 minutes to go. That lead disappeared in a 26-4 run, and you lose the game. It was, I hope this doesn't happen, but somewhat reminiscent. 2 years ago, the Javon Quinterly mess. Caleb Mills, the one guy with experience, a winner, got hurt. And after that loss to USF, the team just went berserk. Just basically gave up the rope, as Penny likes to say, or quit on the team is the best thing you can say. The whole team quit. And it was disaster the rest of the way. I'm just hoping that we're not seeing this again 2 years later after the way they fell apart the last 7 minutes in Tulsa. Now, these games that have been lost here of late, they were on the road. They've got 3 games coming at home. They have a chance to even things up with FAU, where they got rebounded by 17 in that game. I can pretty well assure you that that won't be the case. And I think they may have found some magic, and we'll talk last segment of the show with Jason Munns about this, with the lineup of Bradshaw and Majok. And it appears, and I learned this from Jason and chatting with him earlier today, those two together have provided the best plus-minus minutes on the team this year in the 3 or 4 games that they've really played extended periods of time. We will get into that. I will get into the journey of this whole thing so long. You left a week ago to go to Tulsa. You had that craziness happen there. You had to drive on over to Wichita, and then in Wichita, while there, the weather got extremely bad, but you knew it was coming. Memphis, to the best of my knowledge, made a major effort to have that game changed to Friday. If you had played that game on Friday, you would have been home Friday night in front of the storm. Everybody would have been home safe and sound. Apparently, Wichita State did not want to move the game. ESPN wasn't going to move it, especially if Wichita State didn't really want to move it. This is where you got to have leadership, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't know if Tim Pernetti tries to appease a team that he knows is not interested in leaving, like Memphis, trying to get to a power conference. So he's taking care of the team he knows he's going to have around, or he just didn't want to have a fight with ESPN about moving it. Leaders think about safety first. They think about all their moving parts. I guess they could think some finance, too, because this was costly. You ended up with 3 extra hotel units per player and staff and food and extra rental car days. You add them all up. Big. Because they didn't move up the game, Memphis was stuck there until last night. Then last night, you land. There are several players who live downtown. You're trying to figure out how they're going to get back home because cars are buried at Laurie Walton Center. My car and several others at the Wilson Air were, well, let me put it to you like this. We land, we wait for our baggage in the freezing cold to come out of the body of the plane. You grab that, you go. I start my car. I was able to open my door, and I was worried about that because in ice storms, if you're parked in the direction where the freezing rain may be coming, you might not be able to open your door. Fortunately, I was able to do that, and I start my car, and it goes right up, and there's no problem. And then there's about 4 inches, and I'm not making that up, on the front of my car, including my windshield all the way up to the roof, of ice. It took 45 minutes, and myself, and then we kept shifting off with other people because there were 3 cars we had to clean out. Took about an hour before you finally got all the ice with a lot of hard labor to get out of that. Then you had to push cars out of their spots because, let's face it, there's enough ice there where it piled up and the wind pushed some of it. And then you had to navigate the roads home. And then roads, other than 240, the roads, and they still are, they're a nightmare. I'm not sure, Landon Schmidt, where do you live? How was your trip here?
It was quite a task to get out of the neighborhood. I live over near I believe it's the east end of Walnut Grove, and so everything over on that end.
So you by Walnut Grove Lake?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, right by. It's actually where I went sledding. A couple days ago.
I heard about your adventure. You had fun.
It was a lot of fun.
I used to be a big sledder in my day.
Well, hey, ice helps with the speed a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, getting out of the driveway. I mean, I'm talking a good 6 inches of ice just packed up in there. Had to break all of that, and then getting out of the neighborhood was pretty bad. And then getting out of our side of Walnut Grove was still pretty icy. But then that main strip all the way to the highway, there's at least one clear lane of traffic, so it got better.
Yeah, I took Walnut Grove because I'm at Perkins in Walnut Grove.
Yeah.
To 240. So it really, truly wasn't bad. Now, we're not a news station. We're a sports station.
Yep.
Not sure of the urgent need for us to come and, the non-air people and the other stations here not bringing their people in, which is the smart move. Why put people in dire positions when you don't have to? But the people at HPQ apparently are pretty hardy, because you and I and John Harden, Greg and Eli have all made it in. We'll see how everybody else does. But like I say, if you're doing a public service, and we were giving traffic and news updates and plow times and things of that nature, I could understand the real need to be in here. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand the commissioner not making a real bid to move that game, because he put the team in dire straits arriving home last night. And I'll give you, for instance, our sports information director, Kirk Downs, lives in Mississippi. No way he could go home. He's spent the night at the Peabody, and I hope he gets home to see his family before Thursday's game, because it was a little like Storm Elvis here with us, with the way they had real rain and ice, and that puts stress on the power on the trees, and they crash, and the power lines go down, and then you got a real mess. And I'm going to give a medal to MLGW, although my wife told me that it wasn't. We didn't get enough ice, but the fact that they had done so much work early last year to prevent this sort of stuff, I will give them a tip of the cap. We got Ron Higgins in the middle here, and Ron will chat with us because he had a little minor emergency last week when we were supposed to have him on, so we'll recap sort of the college football playoff with him. And this Bediako case, it's amazing how a judge could make a ruling, and then you find out the judge is a donating booster. Does that judge look bad? And the state court of Alabama looks bad. And now I wonder if they're going to make him recuse himself from this and really bring it before a judge. Don't do an Auburn judge. That would be the opposite prejudice, to find a neutral judge. We'll get... First off, I know they're taking these pros from Europe, and they're taking pros if you never played in an NBA game. I guess you can get drafted, because wasn't Bediako a second-round draft pick? But if you didn't play in the NBA, you can go, really? But you can play in the G League and come? I mean, let's differentiate. I know they're all paid now, but let's differentiate what is a professional and what is a student athlete who's getting NIL money or shared revenue money. It is still financial reimbursement, but there's a line between what is college athletics and what is pro athletics, and to allow these guys to come play, it just does not sit well with me. Maybe I'm a fuddy-duddy, but it does not sit right with me. We'll ask Ron Higgins in our next segment all about that. In the meantime, I sit here in the Family Leisure Studios and remind you, don't go today. Okay, they may get mad at me for this, but I'm not putting anybody in any bad positions. Although I will say, 240 is pretty good. I have no idea what Wooden is like, or 40 is probably pretty good. I've been on 240. I don't know about 40. But I'm assuming, because I know some people last night drove it all the way to Lakeland, so it's okay, apparently. But when this freeze thaws, when it melts and we've got good streets, please get to Family Leisure, because they are what they call making time for you to make room for new stuff. In other words, they're moving out hot tubs. They're moving out patio furniture. They're moving out everything to bring in the new models. There are deep discounts on over 100 display models. If you go in there, mention us too, you might get something special. You will get a deep discount. So deep on some, I can't even give you the price. That's how good it is. All you got to do, please wait till it thaws, but then get to I-40 and Whidden Road, go north, look to the east, about a mile up, not even a mile up, and you will see the beautiful place, Family Leisure. All right, normally we do this on Monday since there was no show and so much stuff happened over the weekend. Let's give out medals. I really didn't go crazy on these, just to let you know.
I didn't either.
I'm giving a bronze medal to Arizona, Nebraska, and Miami of Ohio. Why, you may ask? Because all three of those are now ranked teams that are undefeated. Could we see an undefeated men's basketball team? You know, the South Carolina women were 38-0 a couple of years ago. You know the last time we had an undefeated men's team? Landon Schmidt?
Couldn't tell you.
Well before you were born. Great team. Quinn Buckner was the point guard. Scotty May was the scorer on that team. They had a big burly center. I think his name was Tom Burleson. They went, I don't even remember what they went, because they didn't play that many games. I think they were 32-0. I may be wrong. The 76 Indiana Hoosiers, coached by Bobby Knight. That's your last undefeated college basketball team. Now they play many more games. If the Tigers of 2008, had they won all their games and they ended up losing two, in the regular season they lost a heartbreaker at home to Tennessee, 1-2, and the Tigers were 1 at that time. And then, of course, they lost the championship game up 9 with 2:12 to go. It's always embedded in my mind. They would have been 40-0. So I think if you run the table now, because of all the 3-for-1s, these multi-tournaments, multi-events, what do they call that? What do they call those new things? Multi-event invitationals, or?
I think it's a term patent pending right now.
So that, but they get 3 for really 1. So you play 31 regular season games. Then you play a conference tournament, and then you play in the NCAA tournament. Then you can win them all. You're 40, Unless there's buys in there, I haven't figured out. But I know Memphis was 38-2. So if they'd have won them all, they would have been 40-0. I don't know, because you play so many more games, and there seems to be more parity, especially now with NIL and portal. I don't know if we'll ever see another undefeated team. I mean, it's hard to believe Indiana was 16-0. My goodness.
I was about to say, we didn't think we'd have it this year.
I was thinking you could have a 2-loss national champion. Did. Right. I'm going to give Arizona, Nebraska, Miami of Ohio. They're the only ones left that really have a chance to be 40-0. So we shall see. I'm going to give silver medals to Sam Darnold and to Drake May. Not necessarily for their games in the NFC and the AFC championships, but for their body of work. I mean, Sam Darnold's a great story. How many different colleges, how many different pro teams? Minnesota Vikings gave up on him. Ha, 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 ha. And then he goes, and Seattle's got the best overall record in the NFL this year, and they're in the Super Bowl again. And we get a rematch of the one with Brady and Bill Belichick against Pete Carroll and the Beast, the running back that they should have given the ball to. So you're getting that. Darnold, I love the redemption there. May, how about the fact that he decided on his own to change the play, didn't tell anybody, ran for a quarterback sneak that ends up sealing the win over Denver.
Winners.
And how about the craziness of the weather?
Yeah.
I mean, the game started in literally perfect conditions, and at the start of the second half, there was a whiteout. That was crazy.
It is unreal.
And then a 10-7 final score, and I'm not giving Sean Payton a rust. I probably should, because you take the points, you go up 10-0.
Yep.
And I think I read a story where he was yelling, maybe it was at the Bears, for not taking points, and he said to somebody, I don't understand these coaches now. I'll just follow total analytics. They don't go for it. And then he doesn't go for it, up 7-0, makes it 10-0. That might have been a whole different story. Really.
It really would have.
That to me was crazy. But we got our Super Bowl, and I'm looking forward to that. And then I'm going to give my gold to MLGW because there was very little power outage. And maybe it was simply because we didn't have as much freezing rain, but we did have some. That's why the crust on the snow is so doggone hard now. And the bad part about that is now you get a little sun, even if it doesn't get above 32, it still softens it, melts it, and then at night when it goes down to 10 degrees, it gets very, very slick. So really be careful out there, folks. But I'm going to give MLGW a gold because I thought they did, if they did like my neighborhood, they came in over the last summer or so, and they were chopping down trees and getting stuff away from power lines, and I do think that paid off. So that's why I'm giving them my gold.
Yeah, very, very good. I'm going to start off bronze. I'm going to give it to the defensive battle that we saw in the AFC Championship. It was all defense and special teams in that game. Not a whole lot of flashy stuff on offense, but hey, good football is usually played in the trenches like that. And I'm not going to give him a medal, but a shout out to Jarrett Stidham, who played his first game and who knows how long. I think for him to go out there and do what he did, over 100 yards passing, a TD, he did have that game-ending interception, but I mean, statistically, he performed better than Drake May did. I think Drake May only had 86 yards passing. So
he did. He was better statistically, and let's face it, they had to throw.
They did.
And in that snow, I mean, I'm going to give Stiddy as much benefit of the doubt. I like that you did that.
Yeah. So I mean, not a medal, but definitely a huge shout out or an honorable mention for him to go out there and basically do what he did. I believe going into this week that he had at least a good game in him, and I mean the Broncos covered. So I mean that's better than a lot of people were expecting them to do in that AFC Championship game. For my silver medal, I'm going to give a silver medal to the Nuggets. Since losing Jokic and Jonas Valanciunas back to back, a lot of people, myself included, thought that they were just going to plummet, that they were going to struggle to get wins, struggle to compete. They haven't struggled very much at all. They're now 31-15, I believe, on the year. They're playing phenomenal. Yeah. I mean, you got Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon in their most recent win. It would have been the game on Sunday, but the Grizzlies game got postponed to a later date. Julian Strawther, don't know a whole lot about him, but he played terrific in their win over the Bucks. So a big medal for them to kind of step up and continue to win and prove themselves to be one of the top teams in the West right now. Another silver medal, I have to give it to Arizona basketball, who's absolutely legit right now. Braden Burries and Jaden Bradley both went crazy in their win over BYU. They're 21-0, and I believe, and I'm sure Brett and Bryant can probably correct me on this, but Sports Time last year, we did a segment on who does not have a national championship in college basketball yet, who we think is going to get one here soon. And I said Arizona's coach Tommy Lloyd. So it's looking like that prediction shaping up to be
that turned out
good.
to be a darn good hire. And how about Nebraska, since you're bringing that up? Who would have thought this is the greatest start in their history, because there's never been a basketball school.
I would have never.
And it's about time, because Hoiberg came there to be the savior, and it's taken a while. But give their administration also a bunch of credit, because I can't remember how many years he's been there, but it's got to be at least 3, right? Without big results, and there was no heat on him.
Yeah.
And now look at that. I mean, That's impressive.
I mean, if we've seen anything from sports right now, it's that be patient, because it took Sam Darnold just about 8 years to get to where he's at right now with the Vikings and then coming over to the Seahawks.
No doubt.
It definitely takes some time to be patient. And then my gold, Jackson Smith-Njigba has to be probably the best receiver in the NFL. I mean, and he proved it in that game by going absolutely crazy. And
he was great.
And close behind him is Puka Nacua. I think we saw the top 2 wide receivers in the league going head-to-head.
Oh, yeah, but in that game, you got to give
was
the
also
former
Cooper Kupp.
Ram, Cooper Kupp. That's
Cooper
a little
Kupp,
rub
yep.
at your face.
Well, Cooper Kupp did good. He did really, really good in that game. But also, I mean, shout out to just both of these teams who back in December gave us that great overtime thriller. It seems that every time the Seahawks and Rams crossed paths, we had a great game on our hands. It was really, really fun to watch. And both of these QBs did really, really well. Both of them threw for well over 300 yards and 3 TDs. It was a really incredible game. And now the stage is set.
Can't wait.
It should be good.
Yep. You know, you had mentioned talking to the NBA. The NBA and the college game, and I was talking about how we got to have a definite line of delineation. Who would have thought a year ago Dane Danger would be a G League guy from Miami playing in Sioux Falls, and Musa Cisse would be getting regular playing time in the NBA as a Dallas Maverick? Are you kidding me?
Never predict
That's
that.
That's why we love sports. You could never,
you
ever
do.
tell. All right. To Russ, the first to Tim Pernetti again. Be a leader. You put one of your teams in danger, to be totally honest, and you cost them some money. I hope the league reimburses it. They should. And then I got to give one to Judge James H. Roberts. He's the Alabama judge who granted a temporary restraining order to the University of Alabama, allowing them to play Charles Bediako, a G League guy who was drafted in the second round of the NBA. They're letting him go back to school after, 2 years? I think he was in the 23 draft, something like that. Crazy. Letting him go back. And this guy does that. And then you find out this guy is a donating booster to the University of Alabama. How he didn't recuse himself, I do not know. What an egg in the face on him and on the Alabama system.
Yeah, well, I have 2 Russ as well. My first one goes to Rams punt returner Xavier Smith.
Oh.
On one punt, he bobbles the ball, ends up recovering it, but I'm looking at this from the perspective that you're the Rams, you're in the NFC Championship, and your returner just bobbled a football. Now, if this is, I don't know, maybe a preseason game, sure, let him stay out there, work on his kinks, because these games don't really matter. But this is the NFC Championship, because the very next punt, he bobbles it again, loses the ball, and basically gives the Seahawks a free score.
Well, he fell.
He did.
He should have tried to get out of the way once he fell.
He sensed the presence of Seahawks coming down, ends up tripping over himself, fumbles the ball, and gives the Seahawks an easy score. If I'm the special teams coordinator for the Rams, I'm kicking myself in the face saying, what on earth am I doing? You should have found somebody out there who had sure hands to call a fair catch and secure that ball. Free game, and possibly the score that just completely ended things for the Rams. Absolutely terrible. So I also have a rust for the Titans and Vikings. The Titans didn't want Vrabel. The Vikings traded Darnold, and now both of these guys are in the Super Bowl. And now the Patriots have won as many games since December 21st as the Titans have total since firing Mike Vrabel.
Wow. Well, you're right on those. And throw Cooper Kupp in there.
Yeah. Throw him in there as well.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right. Those are the medals. Good and bad. We got to take a break. When we come back, we're going down to Baton Rouge. I don't think they got any ice. We'll check in with our SEC historian. That's Ron Higgins, and he comes your way in just a minute.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Ken Garland, you are in your 72nd year of business. Your son William is now joining you. What do you think is the key to your longevity in the building business?
My dad started the business in 1965, and I think being on the job sites daily and being accessible to homeowners has been a key to our success.
You guys have a work ethic, as you like to say. You're not hiring people to be on the site. You guys are there every day.
We interact with the subcontractors multiple times a day on each job site. I think that has been a key, as well as using the same subcontractors 20 plus years in most cases.
When you talk about materials, what is the first thing you're thinking about when somebody comes to you to build a home?
We're just trying to meet the expectations of the client and the homeowner and the architect and give them what their dream is.
When you get a Ken Garland home, what do you guarantee?
We'll be there after the job is finished. We're still accessible to all our clients.
Now I need to know, how do I get a hold of Ken Garland?
You can reach us at kengarland.com.
Hi, folks. Bill Russell at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, and I hope your new year has started out in a great way. I think we're all relieved when the holidays are over and life returns to normal. And normal means that special gift-giving occasions always roll around. Over the last 5 decades, we at Russell Brothers have helped thousands of Memphians turn those special occasions into truly memorable celebrations when a small box of exquisite jewelry from Russell Brothers is opened. Beauty, quality, value, and service are what we have offered to our friends and customers for so many years, and all of that is wrapped together in the stunning jewelry you'll find at Russell Brothers Jewelers. Whether you're looking for a very important piece of jewelry for a big occasion, or perhaps just a trendy, whimsical piece to make her smile, we can help you. Remember, beauty, quality, value, and service are our offerings to you every day for every occasion. Come see us at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, 4646 Poplar at Perkins.
Injured in an accident?
NST is the way to go. Call 68370.
For more than 35 years, NST Injury Law has been fighting for Memphis families. When insurance companies try to delay, deny, or underpay, NST steps in to fight back. No fees unless you win.
NST is the way to go. Call 68370. They've got the fight, they've got the heart.
NST is the way to go. Call 683-7000.
You ready to take your pick from 2 amazing rides at $299 a month? Well, then get to Gossett Volkswagen on the Pike. A Volkswagen that's just right for you. We Gossett. Take your pick, 2025 Jetta Sport or 2025 Volkswagen Taos S, $299 a month. You heard me right. You choose 2025 Jetta Sport or 2025 Volkswagen Taos S, $299 a month. We Gossett. Or how about 3 rows of seats, more room for all kinds of adventure in your new 2025 Atlas SEL. Now just $499 a month, or get $7,000 off MSRP. Remember, it's not a new ride if it's not from Gossett, so get to Gossett Volkswagen today, 1875 Covington Pike, or online, GossettVWMemphis.com.
If you want it, we Gossett at Gossett Motor Cars.
All 36-month lease, Jetta SM 104-280, MSRP 26,426, Taos SM 06162, MSRP 27,011, Atlas SC 53,935, MSRP 51,546, includes all rebates and incentives, BF 895, excludes tax title and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid to end of the month. Dealer.com.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
By the way, got to thank a texter who reminds me Kent Benson was the big who was at Indiana with Scott May and with Quinn Buckner. And Burleson, who I mentioned, was the big guy who played with David Thompson and Monty Tao. That part I did remember with NC State. So this Robert Paris stuff. Got to look a little bit more into it, but interesting to say the least. And we'll touch base on that tomorrow for sure. In the meantime, we are going down to Baton Rouge. It's unbelievable. My guy, the RSCC historian Ron Higgins, is telling me that you didn't get touched by any of this storm. Is that possible?
It rained Friday to Saturday, and it dried up Sunday. It's been sunny for 2 or 3 days. It's like 21 here right now. 25 was for, Baton Rouge is like a...
Boy, are you lucky.
When there's a threat of rain in Baton Rouge, people run to the stores in panic, okay? For the ice. They panic. It's all about bread and water. Hurricanes? Nah, we'll just go to the store and buy some liquor.
Crazy.
Honest to God.
Crazy.
They can handle hurricanes. It's the ice they can't handle.
Yeah. It's wild, but they did that here My wife got up on Friday morning, and she went to the grocery store, and already they were like almost out of milk, bread, and eggs.
Yeah.
That's the big trio. That's the big three of storms. But you're only like 70% of the United States was affected by this storm, where there were warnings and people were, somewhat in danger, or at least inconvenienced, and you're not one of them. So lucky you. There's a few things we got to talk about today, but let's revisit, because you had a little minor thing yourself, and were not with us last week to talk a little bit about the college football title game and maybe the historic perspective. Indiana, the third, by the way, Big Ten team in a row to win a title, goes 16-0 undefeated, a team that just 2 years ago was the losingest program in the history of college football, a total joke, and here they are because of portal, because of NIL, and because of one smart cookie who did not have one 5-star and only 4 4-star recruits, ends up winning the national title. It's an unbelievable story.
It is an unbelievable story. It's as Bill Murray was saying, Caddyshack, it's a Cinderella story, come out of nowhere. It's a great story to go in with a bunch of guys who weren't highly rated and kind of put the team together. And, they played hard, they played together, and they kind of fell together in a year where, things. You got to get lucky to a national championship a lot of times. I mean, you really do. LSU's year. They got out a new offensive play caller. Joe Burrow's in the second year. They had like 13 NFL pros in that team. All kind of fell together that year. Tennessee, the year they won the national championship, way back when with T. Martin. That came at a time when Tennessee was able to recruit players outside their state from other major state programs. Like they got people from South Carolina, from Florida, from Louisiana, because those programs were down at that time, so they hit it at the right time. A lot of times it's timing. It really is. And, credit Indiana. They won with, what they had in a year where everybody kind of knocked each other off, and Miami didn't help themselves from that game, missing a field goal and getting the punt blocked. But, credit Indiana. They made the plays.
You mentioned that you got to get lucky with timing, and I agree with that 100%. But I remember you're speaking of Tennessee in particular. When I first got in the market here in '81, Tennessee would get teams players from North Carolina, South Carolina, the states that surrounded East Tennessee. They were really very, very successful with it, and then all of a sudden, it counted more in those other states to have football teams. So it counted more at North Carolina. It counted more at Clemson and South Carolina. And they stopped getting and Virginia, another one. It stopped because Virginia Tech always cared, but, and they would probably get the better players over South Carolina, but, things started to even out a little bit more, and there was more impetus at South Carolina to get better. And I think those recruiting areas sort of dried up on Tennessee over the years.
Over the years, yeah, but I think after their national championship season, I would say so, yeah. Well, we know what happens is, like, if a program's down, and I think at the time South Carolina was down, Georgia was kind of influx. LSU was in the midst of a 10-year awful slump. A lot of these schools weren't as good as they have been, and like Tennessee was able to go into Georgia, get Eric Berry, for example, in the Atlanta area.
Right.
They were able to go to these places and get really, really good players, and they put that year together and worked out for me. That year they had a lot of luck in that year. The first game of the year against Syracuse in the Carrier Dome, they're losing in the fourth quarter, and then they make this pass interference call that gives Tennessee a very questionable defensive pass interference call against Syracuse that got Tennessee in position to win the game. Then the Tennessee-Arkansas game, the fumble with Fitz Sterner. That's another thing. So you have to have luck, but you also have to have good players. Yeah,
well, and theoretically, Tennessee should be able to get players now. It's just a matter of money. If you've got enough money in your NIL war chest, and you're maxing out on the revenue share, at least in this day and age, till they adjust the rules if they do. You just got to identify the right guy for what you want to do, and then just pay him what he needs, and you'll get him.
Yeah, but there's a lot of competition out there.
Oh yeah, but look, Curt Cignetti identified Fernando Mendoza, who was from Miami. They wouldn't even look at him.
Right.
And then he went to Cal, but he figured he saw something in him and would fit the culture that he wanted. He was bringing guys from James Madison, and voila. I mean, it takes a smart guy to figure out, what do I want to run? Where are the personnel that I can get that from? I don't care what their stars were in high school. How have they competed at the collegiate level? And grab those guys and pay them.
Well, he'll get better transfers this year. He'll get probably a little more D1 transfers this year because you win a national championship. People want to come play for you.
Well, he also had a guy that helped contribute. That was Mark Cuban. Gave him a lot of money.
Yeah, he kicked it in this year. So I don't think Indiana reinvented anything really. People, all these national media hopped on and said Indiana has reinvented college football. I don't believe that. I believe they hit it just right. A year where they hit it just right, it happens. Normally, teams with the most talent win games. I mean, that's kind of where it's always been. I think it'll always be that way. But they hit it at the right time, and give them credit. They came through. The only disappointment was the final score of the game was 2 points off of what I picked, and I would have won $1,000 on a $10 bet. So,
oh man, too bad. Yeah,
but it was a great game. Again, give Indiana credit. Miami got Mr. Field Goal. Indiana blocked that punt. Man, that was huge. That was huge.
Well, that
in the game.
We said before the game, part of the reason I was going with Indiana was because they were the most complete team. Offense, defense, special teams. That is the 8th block in 2 years under Cignetti. It was the 2nd in the playoffs. Come on.
Yeah, you would figure that a lot of these teams would look at what Cignetti's doing and try to, copy it.
Right.
Coaches are thieves. They'll tell you that. There's something worse. They'll try it, I got to see what's he doing on punt blocking to get them open.
Yeah. All right. I got to ask you before we run out of times your feelings on pros, even if they were drafted in the NBA, if they didn't play in the NBA, and are G League players coming back to play in college basketball, and the Alabama judge who cleared the way for Charles Bediako, who had been playing in the G League, to come back and play for Alabama. I guess it was 2 years after he'd left Alabama, made the decision to go pro, got drafted in the 2nd round, and still allowed to come back. And it turns out this judge is a donating booster to the Alabama program. Give me your thoughts on all that.
I'm just stunned by that one. It shouldn't happen. I'm sorry. The guy made the decision to go pro. He played in the G League, which is a minor league of the NBA, which you can't get called up. He doesn't get called up. He made that decision. There's no going back once you make that decision. There just isn't. And now, of course, all you got to do is find, whether it's football, basketball, get a lawyer, find a loophole, and threaten in through the NCAA, and then or find a friendly judge. It's ridiculous. A guy makes a decision to go pro, and he's getting paid to play G League. It's money. And he's trying to get to the NBA, but they didn't call him up. So he's going to go back to college?
Which is pro at the moment. It is pro, but we got to find something that differentiates NBA, G League, whatever it is. What is a pro league to a student athlete, even though I'm not sure that they're really student athletes anymore, but to whatever delineates college from pro. There's got to be a line. You're not allowed to make the decision to go pro, be a bust, and then come back. That just doesn't sit well with me.
How many guys out there who've been busted are going, God, man, maybe I should go back to college. I got a couple years left.
I'll give you a great one. How about Imani Bates? Imani Bates was a bust as a freshman at Memphis, went back to Eastern Michigan, where he was from, in Ypsilanti. That didn't work out. Went pro, got drafted, never made it. He's just got cut by his G League. DeAndre Williams, the Memphian, knocked off the other Memphian, Imani Bates. Imani Bates was a bust as a freshman at Memphis, went back to Eastern Michigan, where he was from, in Ypsilanti. That didn't work out. Went pro, got drafted, never made it. He's just got cut by his G League. DeAndre Williams, the Memphian, knocked off the other Memphian, Imani Bates. that guy, I think if he went back, he would literally have at least 2, maybe 3 years of college eligibility left. Why not bring him back?
Yeah, I mean, there's a million stories out there like that. But it's sometimes somebody's got stuff in somewhere where they're, sometimes I think the SEC office is a little weak on that kind of stuff, that they don't step up and use some authority and say, you can't do this. I mean, because, look, somebody told me, they go, my God, even Calipari sees it's wrong. He thinks it's wrong. I said, well
Nate Oates doesn't. Greg Sankey apparently doesn't.
Yeah, and again, the SEC a lot of times doesn't interfere in stuff like this, and honest to God, they really should. They just should.
I'm with you.
These people are in their league. They revenue share in the SEC, okay? And this is an unfair advantage for a team to have this guy. And so, therefore, to me, they're breaking a rule.
They just should. That should be the new motto for the SEC. As always, my friend, thank you much. I don't have to say be safe to you. You're in good shape down in Baton Rouge, but we'll talk next week.
All right, well, take care. We'll see you.
You too. That's Ron Higgins, our SEC historian. We take a break. We're going to South Haven. That's where Munzie is. Jason Munz from the Commercial Appeal on these Tigers. What in the world does he think? We find out in just a minute.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Rick's Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com.
Unlock your new go-to spot, Codes Dispensary in Steele, Missouri, just over an hour from Memphis. When you're ready for a legal, reliable option, they're right up the road. Explore the full menu of top-shelf products in-store and online. Short on time? Order ahead and cruise through the drive-thru for a quick pickup. Stack rewards while you stock up with Club Codes. Earn points for every dollar spent. Codes Dispensary, now open in Steele, Missouri. Supreme cannabis that's worth the drive. Learn more at codesdispensary.com. That's codesdispensary.com.
Trade up and drive into 2026 for less at Landers Ford in Collierville. New 2025 Ford F-150, $11,750 off MSRP or 3.9 APR financing for 72 months. We're making room for incoming new Fords with our best offers right here in the new year. It's our 2026 trade-up event. We're paying top dollar. You could even lower your payments. Shop one of the largest selections of new Fords at the #1 Ford dealer in Greater Memphis. The price you see is the price you pay. No hidden addendums. That's the Landers Ford difference. Get started now with our Landers Easy Pass at LandersFordMemphis.com. Don't wait. The best new Fords with the biggest savings will sell fast. Landers Ford in Collierville.
As reported on Ford's 2025 Total New Vehicle Sales Report, Memphis Market. Example, 2025 Ford F-150 XLT, stock number 25D0751. MSRP $62,450. Ford package discount $2,000. Ford retail bonus cash $32.50. Ford customer cash $2,000. Landers savings $4,500. Sale price $50,700. With approved credit from Ford Credit. Minimum monthly payment of $1,560 per thousand finance, regardless of down payment. Price, tax, title, license, and $695 processing fee. See dealer for complete details. Offer ends 2/2/26.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
We head to South Haven, which I know it's nothing like Oxford. Man, I look at Oxford and I think of the Storm Elvis, and I've seen so many videos. It looks like somewhere in Colorado. It's incredible. What's it like today in South Haven, Jason Munns? Good morning.
Good morning. It's there's a lot of stuff still on the ground, and it's very cold. But I consider myself very fortunate that we didn't lose power here, and no issues with water or anything like that. And I know a lot of people, obviously, over the past weekend, over the past few days, it's been tough. So consider ourselves very fortunate down here.
Well, you are the fortunate man. You went home after the Tulsa game. You didn't go like the rest of us to Wichita, and so you didn't get stuck there forever. Poor Partha Pajai, the Daily Memphian writer, is still in Wichita, can't get home. So you can consider yourself very, very lucky. All right, to try to be positive about this tailspin that Memphis now has lost a couple in a row, both on the road. And they only got 3 conference losses. The best teams have 2 losses, so it's not like the end of the road here. You are still very much in this deal. But it's looked ugly. The silver lining is this. With Majok, who's a newfound talent that they need to give minutes to, and to Aaron Bradshaw playing together, they outplayed Wichita State in the second half. And I think you've done some research. I kind of teased it a little bit. I don't think you've written the story, but I know you know. The Majok-Bradshaw combination have played good plus-minus minutes in several games this year. That, I think, is the way Penny may be going forward with this.
Yeah, so I went back through the box scores. There have been 19 games. I went back through the box scores and pulled out, found the the best plus minus for the plus minuses for each lineup that was used during each game, and pulled out the best one from each game, and did I'm working on compiling it all, but the really interesting thing to me is that, so obviously Doug McDaniel is going to be, he has been part of 17 out of the 19 best lineup combinations in terms of plus minus so far this season. That's obvious. Okay. He plays almost always, and so that stands to reason that he's going to, be involved in the majority of the lineups that are doing well, but also, because he plays so much, he's also involved in a lot of the lineup combinations that don't perform so well. But second most, the player with the second most appearances in the lineup combinations that have done the best in each individual game is Zach Davis, actually. He has been involved in 13 of the 19
wow.
lineup combinations.
That, I got to be honest with you, is stunning when you say that. But he was out there at the end of the Wichita State game.
Yeah. And then Julius Thedford has been in 10 of them. Aaron Bradshaw, Ashton Hardaway, Sincere Parker in 9. And Simon Majok, who, as you mentioned, has, he had that stretch where he played quite a bit, and then Penny sort of reversed course on him, and he's been spotty the last few times. Nevertheless, he has been part of 8 out of the 19 lineup combinations where they've played their best. And so I went back and looked. The best lineup, the best plus minus for one lineup in one game was in the Baylor game. And they were plus 13. This lineup combination played a total of 10 minutes in the Baylor game, and they were plus 13. It was Doug McDaniel, Zach Davis, Aaron Bradshaw, Sincere Parker, and Simon Majok. Huh. And so, yeah, I know Penny talked a lot about talked a little bit about after the Wichita State game about wanting to really lean into the lineup, the grouping of players that played really well in the second half of the Wichita State game, and that was Curtis Givens III, Quante Berry, Zach Davis, Julius Stedford, Simon Majok, and Aaron Bradshaw. And if you go back and you look at the lineup combinations that have played the best, you look at the lineup combinations that have played the best, and a lot of them include many of those guys. So, will we see it or not? Of course, we don't know what Doug's availability is like. Same with Sincere Parker for the game against FAU. So that obviously might play a factor in how much we see of those 6 guys, 7 guys if you include Ashton Hardaway. It's going to be really, really interesting to me to see how much Hassan Abdul Hakim plays, how much Tariq Ingram plays, Tierra Nosilla, those guys. Like, is Penny really gonna limit their minutes? We'll see.
I first off, that's great reporting. That you go back, you figure that out, and then you match it up with what has been successful, and we'll see if Penny does that. If it were me, just looking over this roster, and I'm not talking about starters, I'm just talking about rotation guys that I would use if I were cutting it down. Like he said, he might have to. I would say my guards would be Doug, Givens, Thedford, and Berry. The forwards would be Davis and Hardaway, and Davis is involved. When you were giving me the plus-minus stuff, that to me is the biggest surprise, because I see Davis could be a lot better than it appears that he is, but, maybe I'm missing something here. And then my bigs would be Aaron Bradshaw and Majok, which means I would not play. I'm cutting out Silla, Ingram, Hakeem, which, he's become a starter, and he was really high in him, and I just, other than one game, I don't think the guy's really delivered. I wouldn't play Parker. And the one guy that I might bring in would be Wharton, because I'd like to keep that guy. He can be a big. He needs some minutes the same way Majok did. And I guess if I did need a scorer, it would be Parker there at some point. But that's it. That's how I would go.
Yeah, it's just a really weird, kind of position that Memphis and Penny Hardaway is in right now. Because you're right, they're 4-3. Yeah, they're in 7th place. But if you beat FAU on Thursday, you are right back in the thick of it, man. You are right back in the thick of it, because so many teams are so bunched up, in that tie for second place, ahead of Memphis. There's so many teams that are bunched up, and there's so much time left. It can be, your fortunes can turn very, very quickly. However, we just, so far, this conference season, we just haven't seen a lot that would inspire much in the way of confidence going forward. And I'll say this, I found this just a few minutes ago. Memphis has lost 3 conference games, all by double digits. Do you know how many times that's happened in the Penny Hardaway era?
3 conference losses by double digits?
Yep.
I'll just say never.
That's correct.
Wow.
This is the first time that has ever happened.
Wow.
And we're only 7 games. We're not even halfway through the conference season.
Even when the Quinterly team sort of gave it up at the end? That's amazing.
That is correct.
Wow.
They lost. Remember the road trip, the Texas road swing, where they lost by 10 at North Texas and then by 27 at SMU. Those were the only 2 double-digit conference losses that team had, and so that's and as a matter of fact, that's the only other time in Penny Hardaway's tenure where Memphis has lost back-to-back games by more combined points than the back-to-back losses they have right now. Right now, they've lost back-to-back games by combined 32 points.
Wow! And
then 2 years ago, they lost the North Texas SMU thing back-to-back by 37 points. So it's a weird deal. Do you continue to try to forge ahead and, use your guys that you brought here thinking they were going to be leaders? Do you use them to try to get you back on track? and hope they can deliver and hope they can get you back in the hunt? Or do you go with, some of the guys who've proven that, they can play well and play hard.
And play hard. Yes, I go with those 8 guys that I just mentioned. And here's why I would do it, okay? So you mentioned they're in 7th. Let's look at the 6 teams ahead of them. FAU, they got a chance to right that ship, as you said, on Thursday. I think FAU is the best team I've seen in the league. So I don't know if they've got more talent if Memphis plays those 8 guys. So that's a game. And it's, FAU's not the same on the road. They got beaten up by USF their last game out. That was in Tampa. So you can right the ship right there. Tulsa, unfortunately, which I think is the second best team I've seen, they don't play Memphis again. So they get the break. Right. You could see them in Birmingham on a neutral. Temple, you're not going to see again. You already beat them, but they're not a great team. We know that. So they're going to lose again. Charlotte, you've got them at home. You only got one with them, but they're going to lose again. And then South Florida, you're going to play home and home. And Wichita State, you got a rematch with them at home, and I don't think they're a great team, to be honest with you. Right. So, and they've already got 3 losses. You're tied with them, in essence. So, this isn't over if Penny uses the guys that the plus-minus have shown you are good players together.
Yeah, it's still very much up for grabs. And the other part, if this is the direction that Penny does to decide to go, limiting Hassan Abdul Hakim's time on the floor, same with Sincere Parker. If that's what he decides to do, there's sort of a happy byproduct of that. Like, the more you play guys like Quante Berry, Simon Majok, William Wharton, Julius Stedford, Curtis Givens III, the more, obviously, the more they play together, the better they're going to be together. But conventional wisdom would suggest that the more they play, the happier they are, the more likely they are to come back next season. And, that could be a really, really big, important thing down the stretch, regardless of how the season plays out. If you show these guys that that's your core going into next season, and you convince most or all of them to come back, including Aaron Bradshaw, well then you've got some serious optimism going into next season.
Look, I'm with you. You're going to have Hardaway back. You're going to have Thedford back, Berry back, Givens back. You take those 4 with Majok and Wharton and Bradshaw, as you mentioned.
Potentially Bradshaw, yeah.
Then you go out and you buy a couple of really good portal guys that are going to fit your system and can win, that come from winning programs. I think you got a good team. Well, I don't want to talk about next year. I'm still thinking this can be turned around, going with those 8 guys. Jason Munz, I'll see you at the FedEx Forum on Thursday. Thank you, buddy.
Can't wait.
Stay
Thanks.
safe.
All right, thanks. You too.
All right, we'll try to stay safe too. Me and Landon, Johnny Hardaway, Johnny Radio combination there almost made him a Hardaway.
It works.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, he could play football and baseball like a Hardaway can play basketball, is what I'm told.
Well, he did.
He's hopping along, and I think he's coming back. He's going to come your way next. Please, folks, if you don't have to leave your house because those side streets are really bad, stay home, enjoy snow days. We'll be back again tomorrow morning with our usual crew, I hope. We'll see, and we'll see you then.